Bhagavata, the Mahabharata, Vyapadeshena, by compilation of, he certainly, Amnaya Artaha, import of disciplic succession, Cha, and Darshitaha, properly explained, Drishyate, by what is necessary, Yatra, where, Dharma Adihi, the path of religion, Stri Shudra Adibihi Api, even by women, Shudras, etc., Uta, spoken. Translation and purport. This is Vyas speaking to Narada. I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual masters, and the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras, and others, friends of the twice born, can see the path of religion. Purport. No one can understand the import of the Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow in disciplic succession. The Vedas, spiritual masters, and sacrificial fire must be worshipped by the desiring candidate. All these intricacies of Vedic knowledge are systematically presented in the Mahabharata for the understanding of the women class, the laborer class, and the unqualified members of Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya families. In this age, the Mahabharata is more essential than the original Vedas. Text 30. Tatapi bata maidahyo hyatma chaivatmana vibuhu asampanna iva bhati brahma varchasya sattamaha padapataha tatapi, although, but defect, my, dahyaha, situated in the body, he, certainly, atma, living being, cha, and eva, even, atmana, myself, vibhuhu, sufficient, asampannaha, wanting in, eva abhati, it appears to be, Brahmavarchasya, of the Vedantists, Sattamaha, the Supreme. I am feeling, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, I am feeling incomplete, although I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. Purport. Undoubtedly, Srila Vyasadeva was complete in all the details of Vedic achievements. Purification of the living being submerged in matter is made possible by the prescribed activities in the Vedas, but the ultimate achievement is different. Unless it is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, cannot be situated in the transcendentally normal stage. Srila Vyasadeva appeared to have lost the clue and therefore felt dissatisfaction. 31. Ektis. Kimba Bhagavata Dharmana Prayena Nirupitaha Priyaf Paramahamsanam Taeva Hyachyuta Priyaha. This may be because I did not specifically Padapataha Kimba or Bhagavata Dharmaha, devotional activities of the living beings. Na, not, prayena, almost, nirupitaha, directed, priyaha, dear, paramahamsanam, of the perfect beings, taeva, that also, he, certainly, achyuta, the infallible, priyaha, attractive. Translation and purport. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is both dear to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. Purport. The cause of the dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed herein in his own words. This was felt for the normal condition of the living being in the devotional service of the Lord. Unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can become fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narada Muni, his spiritual master, reached him. It is described as follows. Tasyaiva kilam atmanam manyamanasya kidyataha Krishnasya narado bhyagad ashramam pragudahritam padapataha. Tasya, his, evam, thus, kilam, inferior, atmanam, soul, manyamanasya, thinking within the mind, kidyataha, regretting, Krishnasya, of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, Narada, Naradaha abhyagat, Narada came there, ashramam, the cottage, prak, before, udahritam, said. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Narada reached the above-mentioned cottage of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas on the banks of the Saraswati just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defects. Purport. The vacuum felt by Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord, to which the monist has no access. The monist is not counted among the Paramahamsas, the most perfect of the renounced order of life. Srimad Bhagwatam is full of narrations of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Although Vyasadeva was an empowered divinity, he still felt dissatisfaction because in none of his works were the transcendental activities of the Lord properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt the vacuum as explained above. It is definitely expressed herewith that without the transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void, but that in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible, without any separate attempt at fruitive work or empiric philosophical speculation. 33, the final verse of this chapter. Tamabhijñāya sahasa pratyuttayagatam munihi pujayamasa vidivan naradam sura pujitam padapataha tam abhijñāya. Seeing the good fortune of his Narada's arrival, sahasa, all of a sudden, pratyuttaya, getting up, agatam, arrived at, munihi, Vyasadeva, pujayamasa, worship, vidivat, with the same respect as offered to Vidhi, Brahma, Naradam, to Narada, Surapujitam, worshipped by the demigods. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. At the auspicious arrival of Sri Narada, Sri Vyasadeva got up respectfully and worshipped him, giving him veneration equal to that given to Brahmaji, the creator. Purport. Vidhi means Brahma, the first. Vidhi means Brahma, the first created living being. He is the original student as well as professor of the Vedas. He learned it from Sri Krishna and taught Narada first. So Narada is the second Acharya in the line of spiritual disciplic succession. He is the representative of Brahma, and therefore he is respected exactly like Brahma, the father of all vidhis, regulations. Similarly, all other successive disciples in the chain are also equally respected as representatives of the original spiritual master. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagwatam, entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. Hare Krishna. So I want to go back to the translation of text, a translation and purport of 28 and 29. And here the purport, Prabhupada says, no one can understand the import of the Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow in disciplic succession. The basis of Krishna consciousness and Vedic culture are the Vedas themselves. Srila Rupa Goswami We are called Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami, who we feel is the Pradhana Shishya, the most prominent disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Prabhupada translated as Nectar of Devotion. In the second chapter, I think it's the 108th verse, but I'm not sure right now, Rupa Goswami wrote, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina. It's interesting that he used the word vidhim, which is also appears today in text number 33, vidhivat, vidhivan, vidhivat, in the, when you break it up in the padapat, vidhivat. And here Prabhupada mentions in 33 that Brahma is the father of all vidhis, regulations. So Shruti Smriti Puranadhi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina, without the vidhi, without the regulations of Shruti, Vedas, Smriti, the Dharma Shastras like the Manu Samhita, Manu Smriti, Shruti Smriti Puranadi, the Puranas, the Mahabharata and the Valmiki Ramayana, and there are 18 Mahapuranas and 18 Upapuranas, and there are even other history books. Purana Adi, Adi means in addition, as Purana, etc. So there's also the Harivangsha, which is considered a part of the Mahabharata, but not the main part. So like that, there are a number of Vedic texts, Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatra. There are 140 or 150 or more Pancharatra Agama Shastras. The deity worship that we follow is called Pancharatrika Vidhi, the rules and regulations that are set down in the Pancharatra. Most of the famous and large temples in India follow Pancharatrika Vidhi, except for Tirupati, which follows Vaikhanasa Agama Shastra. Sri Rangam, Dwarkadish, Badrinath, Jagannath Puri, they follow the Pancharatrika Vidhi, the rules and regulations of these 140 Pancharatras. Who studies these Pancharatras? Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't study them. Gaudiya Vaishnavas have a condensed book called Hari Bhakti Vilas, which was compiled by Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. And it is a synopsis of the Pancharatra. The Madhwas have a book called Tantra Sar. Tantra is a Paryaya Padam, synonym of Agama. Nigama is the Vedas. Nigama Kalpa Taruhu Galitam Phalam. The Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit, Galitam Phalam. Nigamaha, the Vedas. So Vedas are not my point in talking about all of this and in quoting you, just now what Prabhupada wrote in number 28 in his purport to Shloka 28. No one can understand the import of the Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow in disciplic succession. The Vedas, spiritual masters. Please note the word spiritual masters is bahuvachanam. It is plural, it is not singular. Sometimes in ISKCON we feel that there's only the Diksha Guru, the one spiritual master. But the first two words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I don't know if this WebEx, you can raise your hand, maybe. But I don't know how many of you know. I like interaction, interactive. If anybody knows the first two words of Chaitanya Charitamrita, can they please raise their electronic hand? I don't know if, or can you do that? Is that possible here?
Yes, Basu Ghosh Prabhu. The devotee can write in the comment box as well, and they can
Okay.
raise. But
This is I want to test your knowledge.
most of
Who knows the first two words of Chaitanya Charitamrita, including Shamchandra Prabhu? Do you know? Do you know Shamchandra Prabhu?
no, I'm really very sorry, Prabhu. I don't know.
So if you don't know, probably the other people listening, because I'm looking at the names and it looks like people who are not initiated in ISKCON.
Most of the devotee, they are new.
Right. So the first two words, Vande Gurun. Vande Gurun. I bow down, Vande Gurun, Bahuvachanam, to my gurus. Please remember that there are more than one guru. Okay? So, the Vedas, Prabhupada wrote here at the end of this purport, in this age, the Mahabharata is more essential than the original Vedas. Now, does this mean that we reject the Vedas? The answer is no. We do not reject the Vedas. The Vedas are the basis of our ideology. And that's why Rupa Goswami wrote, I didn't finish translating that. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhim Vina. Without the Vidhi set down in the Vedas, Shruti, Smriti, the Dharma Shastras like Manu Smriti, Madhu Samhita, Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc., and the Pancharatra, Agama Shastras. Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatayaiva Kalpate. Those who engage in bhakti to Vishnu without reference to Shastras only create disturbance in society. And that society might even be the ISKCON society. I'm sorry I have to say that. What I mean to say is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text number 23, shloka 23, adhyaya 16. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Yaha Shastra Vidhim Utsrijya Vartate Kamakarataha Nasasidhim Avapnoti Nasukam Naparagatim. And translated that into English, Yaha Shastra Vidhim Utsrijya, those who give up the Vidhi, again the word Vidhi, the regulations of Shastras. Yaha Shastra Vidhim Utsrijya Vartate Kamakarataha, who act whimsically, Kamakarataha, according to their own desires. You know, if I want to eat cow's meat, it's according to my own desire. It's not according to Vedas. It's a mahapap. It's a papa to eat cow's meat. And cow's meat eating in the United States and Europe and even in India, I'm sorry to say, and of course in Dubai, is like drinking a glass of water almost. Not exactly, but it's similar. Something they do every day. So even the food we eat, Yagrina Shishtashina Santu Muchante Sarva Kilbishaihi. Bunjate te twagam papa. If the food is not offered as a yagna, it is papa. And the greater papa is cow killing and other animals. But Prabhupada has also said, and Vedas allow Shudras and Kshatriyas to eat meat. Kshatriyas could eat the meat of lions and tigers and deer in the forest that they killed. Even that is a papachar, but it's allowed. And at the end of their life, they're supposed to perform prayashchitam, atonement for such sins. And Shudras are allowed to eat meat. It is also sinful. It is also papa. And there's a mantra, Mam kada iti mamsaha. I will eat you and you can eat me in the next life. One is supposed to, when the Shudra, when he eats meat, he's supposed to recite this, Mam kada iti mamsaha. When I am eating you now, you can eat me in the next life. So it's foolishness to eat non-vegetarian food. The whole human society is eating it. That means whole human society are actually, Prabhupada used the word, two-legged animals, dvipad pashu. So where is Vyasadeva and where are we? And he's talking about the Paramahamsas. Oh, here it's written, right? I'm looking for that verse. Where did it go? One of them. Well, wasn't the word Paramahamsa mentioned?
Can you give me the verse number? I can show.
No, it's today. Here it is. I found it. It's in 31. Kimva Bhagavata Dharma na prayena nirupitaha priyaf paramahamsanam taeva yuchuta priyaha. So this is the verse you wanted me to begin with. This may be the translation. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear to the Paramahamsas and Achyuta Priyaha, that all attractive Lord Achyuta. This is the translation of Prabhupada, the infallible Lord. So we are Chuta. We have fallen down. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshastakam. He prays to Krishna that, oh, son of Maharaj Nanda, I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. And that describes our position. Every day people are dying. And now this is a period of disease, right? Pandemic, COVID-19. And we know people, devotees, even one of our ISKCON leaders, who I was a very close, I can say, a junior in age and junior in ashram, even though I joined ISKCON before him. But I'm from a Malecha and Yavana family, and he was from Calcutta. And of course, he was COVID-free when he left his body. But it was complications because of this COVID. Or there are people who have heart attacks, right? I don't know how many people read the news. I looked at the Indian Express earlier today and saw that one of the cricket commentators from Australia collapsed and died in his hotel room in Delhi. And, it was one of the headlines on the Indian Express. He was 59 years old. I'm 65. Suddenly had a heart attack. So padam yadavi padam, and dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This is the miserable material world. It's temporary. We have this material body and we're attached to this body. We're in the body. We are not the body, but we are not dogs and hogs. We are human beings and we have a human form of life. And only those who have a human form of life can do bhakti. The dogs and hogs and camels and asses, they cannot engage in bhakti. Only human beings can engage in bhakti. But who is doing it? Who is engaging in bhakti? Practically nobody. Human society, Prabhupada said, we are running on 2 feet and they are running on 4 wheels. Everyone has a car in Dubai. And in India now, everybody has a motorcycle or a car. There were no motorcycles and cars in India. Many, many years ago, I came to India in 1974. Indira Gandhi was the prime minister. During her years as prime minister, she attended an energy conference in Africa, in Nairobi. And at that energy conference, she stated that India is the land of bullock carts. We are not wasting energy. We are using natural energy to run the country. Srila Prabhupada left this world on November 17th, 1977, or November 14th, 1977. After Prabhupada left this world, 4 of us in Hyderabad got in an ambassador car and drove to Vrindavan 30 hours. 30 hours driving in a car, 4 devotees. We were all drivers and there was only 1 wheel. All of us took turn driving, but one of us was a dedicated driver. He did most of the driving. Non-stop. I mean, we stopped for bathroom break or whatever, but we didn't sleep. We drove for 30 hours to reach Vrindavan. In those days on the road, there were thousands and thousands of bullock carts. Thousands of bullock carts. In Maharashtra, we had to drive through Nagpur, from Hyderabad to Nagpur, and Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, and Gwalior, and then Agra, and then Mathura and Vrindavan. And in Maharashtra, in November, the farmers were bringing the cotton to the market in the bullock carts. And we saw 1,000 people were sleeping in the night on the cart. The cart was moving. The people were, this was India in the 1970s. Now you will be hard pressed to find a bullock cart in India. They have been wiped out by the tractors. And because of that, who needs the bulls? Send them to the slaughterhouse. So in this way, India is now also becoming full of papacharis. It's very unfortunate. Prabhupada preached about farm communities. Prabhupada, I was in Hyderabad when Prabhupada was donated 565 acres of land by a businessman who recently left this world 2 months ago at the age of 91, 3 months ago, maybe in July. That July is 2 months ago. And later on, after Prabhupada disappeared, he grabbed back most of the land, and ISKCON has 50 acres of that 565 acres. It's a very long story, and it's not the point of this lecture to narrate the history of that. But the point is that Prabhupada went there and spent time towards the end of his life. It was in 1976, December, and he wanted a farm community where devotees would live a simple life. And you know, there was one interesting thing about his visit to Hyderabad at that time. He brought the temple president of Delhi and put him on the Hyderabad farm. He had a degree in agriculture. He's a godbrother named Tejas Prabhu. I don't know if Shamchandra Prabhu, you know Tejas. He did visit Dubai, I think. I'm not sure. I think he did visit Dubai once.
Yes,
And and Tejas Prabhu, but Prabhupada brought a boy from Vrindavan, American boy, who was not interested in studying. So Prabhupada said, put him, he should work on the farm. And Prabhupada personally brought him and put him on the farm. Of course, he didn't stay. Tejas didn't stay. No one that Prabhupada put in charge stayed. It's a sad story, but it's a fact of the matter. You know, here in one of the purports that we read today, here it is, the purport of Shloka 28 and 29. All these in the purport, Prabhupada wrote, all these intricacies of Vedic knowledge are systematically presented in the Mahabharata for the understanding of the woman class, the laborer class, and the unqualified members of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya families. In this age, the Mahabharata is more essential than the original Vedas. Now, Prabhupada is making a distinction in the purport between women, laborers, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Laborer means Shudras. But in the Western world, at the present moment, there is a movement to make society classless. A society with different classes is called Varnashram Dharma. And Varnashram Dharma is mentioned in Gita. Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam, I created the Varnashram Dharma. And in the Vedas, in the Purusha Sukta, and in other places also, but Purusha Sukta, Brahmano Osya Mukamasit, the Brahmanas were born from the face, the head of the Lord. Bahurajanya Kritaha, that Purusha, Krishna, Vishnu, created the Vaishyas, Bahur, from the arms. Rajanyaha, Rajanyaha means the kings, the Kshatriyas. Kritaha, he did. Uru Tadasya Yad Vaishyaha, from the stomach was born the Vaishyas. Padbyam Gum Shudro Ajayata, and the Shudras were born from the legs. However, this philosophy is not popular in modern society. In modern society, there's a much more popular philosophy called Marxism. How many of you have heard of it? I think all of you have heard of Marxism. Am I correct? Correct. And right now, the majority of people in the world are no longer under governments where Marxism is the principle of the government. Because Russia 30 years ago did away with Marxism, right? It was the Soviet Union. It was a Soviet Socialist Republic, and they rejected that. The Communist Party was disbanded by Mikhail Gorbachev, and who's still alive. And they made it a so-called democracy, but now it's become autocratic government. That's a different story. China still clinging to Marxism. But in China, Marxism is a farce because the Chinese are all businessmen. And in China, there's the rich and the poor. And that's all over the world. And that means there are different classes of people. So the Vedic concept is there should be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. And in the Marxist concept, the laborers of the world, called the proletariat, should unite and make a classless society. Well, there are countries where Marxism is not the principle of the government, but there's a similar ideology. Excuse me. If you pardon me, I'll have a little water. So there's a similar ideology called egalitarianism. And maybe you haven't heard this word. Shamchandra Prabhu, have you heard it?
No, Prabhuji, we are learning from you all these philosophies and just
Okay.
giving.
Okay. I have the dictionary open, the English dictionary, and the word egalitarian is an adjective, and the definition is relating to or believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. Is that understandable? I'll give you an example in India. See, according to the Varnashram Dharma, the ladies, the women, they have separate duties called Stri Dharma. If you look in the Bhagavatam before this, after this, 1:9:27, Dana Dharman, Raja Dharman, Moksha Dharman, Vibhagashaha, Stri Dharman, Bhagavad Dharman, Samasa Vyasa Yogataha. Dana Dharman, Dharman is Bahuvachanam. Many dharmas for dhanam, giving charity. Raja Dharman, many dharmas for ruling the kingdom. Dana Dharman, Raja Dharman, Moksha Dharman, how to get liberation. There are many dharmas, duties. Sri Dharman, for women, there are many duties. And then Bhagavad Dharman, for devotees, bhaktas. Bhagavad Dharman, that's how Prabhupada translated it. Asamasa Vyasa Yogataha. Bhishma Dev, Bhishma Pitamaha, instructed Yudhishthir, who was brought to him by, remember, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna took Yudhishthir to Bhishma when he was on Sharashaya, Banashaya, bed of arrows, for Dharma Upadesh. And what Dharma Upadesh did he give him? Dana Dharman, Raja Dharman, Moksha Dharman, Vibhagashaha, Sri Dharman, Bhagavad Dharman, Samasa, Vyasa Yogataha. But according to egalitarianism, women should also be government ministers. Like in India, Nirmala Sitaraman is the finance minister. You understand? So this egalitarianism is coming into a movement called ISKCON, and it's very unfortunate. You may be new people and you may not know about ISKCON, but you are mostly Hindus. I don't see any name here that is not Hindu. I'm not a Hindu by birth. I admit that. I'm born in a family of Malechas and Yavanas who came from Europe and settled in the United States. And I came to India at the age of 18 in 1974 as a member of ISKCON. I joined ISKCON 1973 at the age of 17, completed 18 running. And now I'm 65. So 47 years have passed. And living in India, Hindi, Gujarati, Sanskrit bhashya api aham vadami. Ye jananti taihi sakam vartalapah samskritena bhavati. Tatkrite kimapi kashtam nasti mama. I can converse in Sanskrit, doesn't mean I know the whole language. But I've learned some Indian culture. And I know that Prabhupada was propagating Vedic Sanatan Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma is bhakti, but bhakti has to be based on the Shastras, as I quoted from both Rupa Goswami and in Bhagavad Gita 16:23. But if you make bhakti egalitarian, that's not bhakti. That is a disturbance, according to Rupa Goswami. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhakti hi. Hari Bhakti without Shastras, Utpata Yaiva, Utpat, disturbance. Hey, I'm telling you this, but it's not me. It's Rupa Goswami who wrote this, isn't it? And Gita says the same thing. If you give up Shastras, Yaha Shastra Vidhim Utsrija, Vartate Kamakarataha. If you become egalitarian, it's not bhakti, it's a disturbance. So, Vyasadeva was disturbed. That's the whole verse that we have today, isn't it? Vyasadeva was unhappy. Read verse number 31. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Where does it say dissatisfied? In the purport of verse number 31, Prabhupada writes, the cause of the dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed herein in his own words. Vyasadeva was unhappy. He knew all the Vedas. He divided one Veda into the 4 Vedas. And he wrote the Mahabharata. Why was he unhappy? Because he didn't describe bhakti. But if you say that you're a bhakta and you say Vedas don't apply, and I don't have to follow Vedas, or we want in an egalitarian society, we want women to do what men are doing, which is what is happening now because of the popularity of egalitarianism in the West. It is not bhakti, it is a disturbance. This is my message to you tonight. My message is bhakti here is described as the highest activity, right? Priyaf Paramahamsanam, it is dear to the perfect beings. In verse number 31, what is dear? Bhagavad Dharma, devotional activities of the living entities. What are devotional activities? Worshipping the deities, chanting the name of God, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, offering food, Yat Karoshi, Yat Ashnasi, Yat Juhosi, Dadasi, Yat Tapasyasi Kaunteya, Tat Kurushva Madarpanam. Hey Kaunteya, Krishna tells Arjuna, son of Kunti, whatever you do, Yat Karoshi, Yat Ashnashi, whatever you eat, Yat Juhosi, whatever you offer in the fire. Because Vedic Dharma was fire sacrifice. Vedic Dharma, in order to perform a fire sacrifice, you need a Brahmin thread. You should have been initiated as a Brahmin. Only Brahmanas can worship the deities and only Brahmanas can perform sacrifices. And therefore, they're called Dvijas. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas have this Yagnopavit Sanskar. If you cannot get the Yagnopavit, how can you give it? If you cannot get it, you cannot give it. In order to follow Vedic Dharma, Prabhupada and Bhakti Siddhanta gave the Yagnopavit to people who were not Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, even to Shudras. And I am lower than a Shudra, a Malecha, and a Yavana. So, my point is that bhakti does not mean to give up the Vedic Dharma. It does not mean to give up Varnashram Dharma. But hey, you are going to hear lectures from people who will tell you that bhakti is beyond the Varnashram Dharma, so Varnashram Dharma is not important. Those people are misguiding you. They are not teaching actual bhakti. I'm sorry to have to tell you this. I'm sorry, because it's unfortunate that a lot of people are preaching this right now within our institution. So I'm warning you, be careful. Make sure that whatever you hear, the guru, whoever it is, I don't care, ABC, XYZ, a guru is someone who teaches what is in the Shastras. That is the guru. Shiksha guru, Diksha guru, Pata Pradarshaka guru, they teach what is in Vedas. We are not propagating another religion. We are propagating the Vedic religion. And there's another word for the Vedic religion that is very popular in the world today, and which many ISKCON devotees claim we are not following. And that word is Hinduism, which is described in the definition in the dictionary, a major religious and cultural tradition of South Asia, which developed from Vedic religion. Well, guess what? We follow Vedic religion, and we follow the culture and tradition of South Asia, which is called Mahabharata, and therefore we are Hindus. We may not be born in Hindu families, but we are following this Sanatan Dharma, and it's popularly called Hinduism. Yes, there are people that say that they're Hindus who follow totally concocted ideas. One of them is worship of Sai Baba of Shirdi. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but the Sai Baba of Shirdi is not an avatar of Vishnu mentioned in Vedic literature. There's another group from India that, everybody thinks we're Hindu, which is the Brahma Kumaris. And the Brahma Kumaris say that the Gita is not spoken by Krishna, it's spoken by Shiva, but not by Kailaspati Shiva, Nirakar Andarupi Shiva. Where is that in Vedic literature? It is not in Vedic literature. So they are not actually Hindus in the true sense of the word, because they don't follow Vedic Shastras. And all the traditional sampradayas in India, whether they're Vaishnava or even Mayavadi, the Shankaracharya, they all follow the Vedas. The difference is two. The interpretation of Vedanta Sutras, and the Vedanta Sutra is a, what's the word? Condensed explanation of the Upanishads. Another word for Upanishads, 108 Upanishads, we have the Ishopanishad, Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam, but there are 108. Prabhupada quotes the other Upanishads. Mundaka Upanishad says, Tad Vijnanartam Sa Gurum Eva Bigachet. To get that spiritual knowledge, you have to go to a guru. Samit Panihi, in your hand there should be wood for performing a sacrifice. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam means he should have studied the Vedas, Shrutis. Shrotriyam. He should know Vedic knowledge. Brahmanishtam. He should have faith in Ishvara. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Ishvara is the Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. And he should know Vedic literature. He should have memorized Vedas, studied in the Vedic educational syllabus. That's in the Mundaka Upanishad. So all Upanishads are Vyasadeva. Same Vyasadeva we're talking about. He compiled Vedanta Sutras, and Prabhupada has written in one of the purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gaudiya Vaishnavas should study Vedanta Sutras, Vedanta philosophy. So Vedanta philosophy is the end, Vedantaha, end of the Vedas. Moksha is the subject matter. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. 4 Purusharthas in Vedic thought. And the last one is Moksha. And that is the aim of life. Of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Prema Prayojana. Prema is the 5th Purushartha, Panchama Purushartha. But if you don't know Dharma, how can you get moksha? That is the point. Excuse me. Prabhu, was this lecture recorded?
Actually, we are on the YouTube as well, and we are recording on YouTube, Prabhu. Is it fine?
Please send me the link.
I already sent you. Yes, please, Prabhu.
YouTube link. Okay. So now we can take questions. I think I made my points. And of course, you know, Harikatha and the philosophy, there's no end of it.
Yes, Basu Prabhu. And the association of you is our blissful, and that's great opportunity for all the devotees. So any devotee has any question or the comment, they can ask Prabhuji, because he has a 47 years of experience in the society. And we don't have this much month. Yes,
Prabhu,
yes, Prabhuji.
There is a question from Swati in the chat window. Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam. What is Vaikhanasa Sampradaya? There is no Vaikhanasa Sampradaya. There are Agama Shastras, which are also considered Vaishnava. Like the Pancharatra Agamas, there's a Vaikhanasa Agamas. And Vaishnavas accept them specifically in the Ramanuja Sampradaya. And the system of worship is very similar to the Pancharatrika system. And the members of Ramanuja Sampradaya who worship Tirupati Balaji, Lord Venkateshwara, which is Krishna. I went to Tirupati with Prabhupada in 1974, April. Prabhupada bowed down in front of the deity Shashtanga Dandavat, which in Ramanuja Sampradaya is not done in front of the deity. It's done at the Dvajastambam, the flag post. But Prabhupada was from Gaudiya Sampradaya, and we all bowed down, and Prabhupada said, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And then he told us, Balaji means Balkrishna. So I remember that. It's 46 years ago. You know, it's a fading memory, but I remember it clearly. So it's not a other Sampradaya. So now there's another question in the chat box from Anita. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is it necessary to follow Ekadashi? You know, Mataji, there's a story of Ajamil in the Bhagavatam, who was a Brahmana who studied Vedas, and then he fell down and became a thief and a rogue, and he had 11 children with a prostitute, and well, a Shudrani, and who was someone else's wife. And at the end, the youngest child was named Narayana, and Yamadutas came to take him away. This is a story in Bhagavatam. And he called out for that son, Narayana. When he saw Yamadutas, he said, Narayana. And then he remembered, Ishvara is Narayana. And then Vishnu Dutas came and stopped the Yamadutas. You cannot take him. You cannot take him. He chanted the name of Vishnu. So, you know, Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma, Shashvat Shantim Nigachati, Kaunteya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashati. 9:31 in Gita, Krishna says that one who is my devotee, he's never destroyed. Now, one may say, well, even these sinful rascal like Ajamil got moksha by chanting the name of Narayana, so I don't have to follow Ekadasi. But actually, devotees, they follow, Vaishnavacharyas. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur wrote a poem, Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula. The dust of the lotus feet of devotees is favorable for bhajan. And there he wrote in that poem, Madhava Titi Bhakti Janani, Jatana Palana Kori. Those who follow these days dedicated to Madhava, like Ekadasi or Janmashtami, Ramnomi, Narasimha Chaturdashi, Madhava Titi Bhakti Janani, that is the mother of bhakti. So by following Ekadasi, your bhakti becomes strong. So now I see there are many, many questions. After Ekadasi, what is Pancharatra? I mentioned that earlier, that there are 140 books called the Pancharatra. One of them is the Narada Pancharatra, one is the Bharadwaj Samhita, one is the Ahir Budnya Samhita. These books are studied only by followers of Ramanujacharya. The Madhva Sampradaya, the Gaudiya Sampradaya, and I don't know exactly Vallabh Sampradaya, Nimbark Sampradaya, but I don't think they study all of the Pancharatras. But Ramanuja Sampradaya, those who study those Pancharatras are called Agama Vidwan. Vidwan means a learned scholar of Agamas. And there's still tradition in South India, in Kanchipuram and in Melkote and in other places where Ramanuja Sampradaya Brahmanas are many in number, where they study all of the Pancharatras. So let me go now to the next question. Wow. Ajamil's story is, I already mentioned that. Ishavasyam idam sarvam tena tyaktena bunjita. Right, that is correct. What is our quota? What is our quota means whatever we need to keep body and soul together. Like Sudama Brahman is the example. He had nothing. He was starving. And his wife said, go and meet your friend Krishna. And Krishna gave him a big palace without him asking. All he had some, what do you call it? Chidava. Chida. In Bengali, they say chida. Chidava in Hindi, flat rice. Poha. And Krishna took it from him. He didn't want to give it to Krishna. He was ashamed. This is a story you know, probably. It's very famous among Hindus. Sudama. So our quota is whatever we need to live. And building big bungalows and big apartment buildings for 50 lakhs of rupees. And anyway, I'm sorry to say, this is not Vedic system. Vedic system is to live in a kutia, to live in a hut, in a village. Now you may say, why am I sitting on a computer with a headphone? And I would say, you're right. It's a compromise with modern society. But what Prabhupada taught, the ideal system of living is the Indian village system. Grama Jivanam. That's what Prabhupada taught. So that is our quota. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am 16 years old and my parents don't allow me to fast on Ekadasi. How can I follow Ekadasi? Wait till you leave your parents' house. What can you do? Or if they won't allow you to fast, I mean, you can just fast because they may not prepare, what is it? Falahar, or what they call in Bengal, Onukolpo. And we, in Western India, we say Falahari Prasad. So fruits, don't eat what they cook. Now, how can they force you? They can pressure you, but they may not be able to force you. But, if things are so bad, then at least fast on the Bhimsen Ekadasi once a year, that Nirjal Ekadasi. in summer.
Hare Krishna, Ghosh Prabhu. We would like to you speak in Hindi for few of the devotees have asked me. You speak
प्रभु
so very nice Gujarati,
अभी
Hindi, and
यहाँ 11 बज गया
yeah,
और
yeah.
यहाँ बाजू के कमरे में एक लड़का सो रहे हैं और
So
मेरा
sorry.
बेटा तो चले गया बाहर, आज रात को आने वाला नहीं है क्योंकि छुट्टी है.
So
लेकिन
we will end our session. So we will end our session with just a few just pastime that what inspired. What was your first meeting with Srila Prabhupada? You can speak in
नहीं,
Hindi,
हाँ,
and
राइट.
because हम ये
प्रभुपाद
जोड़
जी
सकते हैं.
प्रभुपाद जी
We can take questions later.
प्रभुपाद जी महाराज का दर्शन बॉम्बे में हुआ, यूएसए में नहीं हुआ. मैं वहां भक्त बन गया, 1 साल रहा और 1 साल के बाद लगभग उसी दिन 1 साल के बाद 1 साल पूरा करके पहुंच गया बॉम्बे. दूसरे दिन प्रभुपाद आया और 10 दिन रहा. फिर हम मायापुर गया, प्रभुपाद वहां था, वृंदावन, वापस बॉम्बे, हैदराबाद, तिरुपति. तो मैंने लगभग 2 महीना आप कह सकते हैं प्रभुपाद जी महाराज के साथ रहा. लेकिन मैं बहुत कनिष्ठ भक्त था और बहुत युवा था. बचपन है, 18 वर्ष का उम्र, आप समझ सकते हैं मेरा बचपन की परिस्थिति थी. और फिर प्रभुपाद जी महाराज हैदराबाद, नेल्लूर, चेन्नई, जो जिनका नाम था मद्रास, बॉम्बे, वृंदावन, मायापुर और महात्मा गांधी का आश्रम वार्धा, 2 दिन का कार्यक्रम था, दिसंबर 76. वहां भी प्रभुपाद जी महाराज के साथ रहा. तिरुपति, नेल्लूर, दिल्ली में प्रभुपाद नहीं देखा मैं, कलकत्ता में भी नहीं देखा. और प्रभुपाद के बड़ी बड़ी कार्यक्रम दिल्ली, बॉम्बे, कलकत्ता मैंने नहीं देखा. संयोगों से अलग अलग लोगों के अलग अलग जीवन में प्रसंग होते हैं. और हैदराबाद में मैंने हिंदी सीख लिया, 6 महीने के अंदर हिंदी बोलने लगा. वहां राजस्थान के काफी, हरियाणा और राजस्थान के व्यापारी समाज के लोग हैं और हम आजीवन सदस्य बना रहे थे प्रभुपाद जी महाराज का आज्ञा के अनुसार. तो उन लोगों के पास जाकर हिंदी में बोलना जरूरत था. और रास्ता का भाषा हैदराबाद में हिंदी, भले ही वहां के जनसंख्या तेलुगु भाषी लोग, लेकिन हैदराबाद में सब लोग हिंदी बोलते थे. अभी भी ये परिस्थिति है हैदराबाद में. और देवनागरी लिपि का अभ्यास 1975, 3 हफ्ते के अंदर देवनागरी लिपि का अभ्यास किया. और ये बहुत लंबा इतिहास है प्रभु, ये बहुत संक्षिप्त में मैं आपको क्या बोलूं. हरे कृष्ण. तो समाप्त करूं?
Yes, Prabhuji, really very sorry for the inconvenience
नहीं
time.
नहीं,
You have to sleep, please forgive us. And this is enough. I think 1 hour. We have took 1 hour
right.
more. And please, you whenever come to Dubai, and last time you come to Dubai, Damodar Desh Yatra. And I
Right.
wanted to tell you all the devotees that it's very famous.
Prabhu,
Yes.
I can recommend you maybe 10 other devotees who can give lectures.
Yes,
One of them is Bhakti Prem Swami, who is in Ujjain, disciple of Bhakti Charu Swami, who recently left this world.
Yes, Prabhu.
And there are in Baroda temple IYF brahmacharis who are very good Hindi and English. And
Yes.
Ujjain, there are 4 or 5 brahmacharis who are all, NIT Bhopal graduates,
Yes, Prabhu.
chartered accountants, modern educated boys who joined ISKCON.
Yes, Prabhu.
So
we
I will send you.
speak to
I will
separate
send you.
for this,
No, I'll send you the contacts and
I
जैसे
already got.
अनुकूल है, जब अनुकूल है आप उनके साथ संपर्क करें. इसमें कोई कुछ अनिवार्य नहीं है, जबरदस्ती नहीं है. आप
No, we will call them. We will
Right.
for sure call. So thank
Right.
you for your time, and it is your late for you as well. And I pay my obeisances. Please bless us, Prabhuji,
Va-
and all our congregation.
वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Hare Krishna.
Obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Thank you.
Thank
Bahut
you.
bahut dhanyavad. Anugrihitosmi. I'm grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we will continue with our morning program, and Basukosh Prabhu, you can leave the class. And because we have not written Shikshastakam and the 10 offenses, we will continue with this. I'm going to share the screen with the devotees, and then we will end our today's session. And I think any devotee confirm my screen is visible to you?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So any devotee would like to sing Shikshastakam, this is wonderful. We have a 30 devotee by the purity and the mercy of Bhasukosh Prabhu is the highest number till now. So please go ahead with the Shikshastakam. Any devotee would like to sing?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Shall I?
Yes, yes, please.
Cheto darpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Shreyatairava